Ken Hastings and Ann Lewis. Ann Lewis or Ken Hastings?
I'm coming.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't understand the schedule, so I was late. Good evening. My name is Ken Hastings. I live at 39044 Holly Drive, Mechanicsville, 20659. I provided you with a letter that I wrote to Secretary Grumbles, hoping that he would be here, and I see that he is tonight, and I really appreciate that. I'll provide electronic copies for the rest of the people. The subject application is incomplete due to the absence of any alternative site analysis, and Comar says indeed he can't issue a permit without this analysis. According to the record of this project, late 2016, the applicant entered into a purchase option agreement with the property owners. 1 year later, the issue of jurisdictional impacts was raised in a letter from Mr. Thompson to Dane Bauer, confirming that if the project didn't impact jurisdictional areas, no non-tidal wetlands approvals would be required for the location of the solar panels. However, if impacts associated with infrastructure and grid load connection were involved, permits for those threats would be required. On 5/7/2018, the applicant contacted the Maryland Historical Trust, announcing the need to add yet another piece of property, the Smith Point property, to the project for substation grid connection requirements. On 5/8/2018, the Charles County Board of Appeals approved a special exception to proceed with the project. The alleged unique location advantages of the property were touted by the applicant without mentioning the fact that the grid was 1,700 feet from the border of the original project, required to purchase yet another parcel to reach the grid. The MD permit application was submitted on January 28th without an alternative site analysis of, and this is from Comar, the physical, economic, and demographic characteristics of alternative sites considered. Impacts for both the original property and the Smith Point property were included. From this timeline, it seems clear the applicant never intended to consider other sites. The impacts of the solar farm part first surfaced over 2 years after the original option purchase was signed. If the applicant didn't know there were impacts requiring a permit, he had no reason to survey for alternatives. After Mr. Thompson's reminder, the applicant added the Smith Point impacts to the mix, but there is no indication that alternative sites were considered for this purchase either. In 1997, the Summit Hills project was rejected by MDE for lack of an alternative site analysis.
30 seconds.
Okay.
It's not working.
You got the time because I can't tell you, so I can't face myself. The appeal of that decision ended in 1988 with a conclusion of all that MDE was justified in denying permit because there was no alternative site analysis. Note that the amount of disturbance is irrelevant unless it is zero, in which case the applicant doesn't need a permit. For any other amount of disturbance, both a permit and an alternative analysis are required. Thank you.
Ann Lewis?
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, and I want to note that I live at 3400 Reservoir Road in Georgetown, a block from Georgetown University, but we spent our summers in Nanjemoy. As you know, I represent city wildlife in Washington, D.C. Our mission is to protect wildlife and wildlife habitat in the area. And our earlier remarks are part of the record, and I don't need to deal with those. I just want to point out today an observation that I've had continuously throughout this process, which is a concern for the lack of transparency in this process. First, we were originally told something about 210 or 227 acres, and then all of a sudden there's another 50 acres for a substation that we were unaware of. Second, as a retired architect, I'm used to seeing and doing myself presentation drawings for meetings such as this, and I've found the presentation materials, in addition to the basic environmental analyses, quite inadequate for this kind of presentation. The presentation materials have never shown or represented the true nature of the habitat or the natural resources that this project will destroy. And finally, in the earlier hearing, we were promised the environmental report from Georgetown on March 20th, and we just recently learned that the report's been completed, but it's not being released. These actions convey a lack of transparency in the process and a lack of respect for public access to information that these projects require. So at the very least, I request that the Georgetown report be made publicly available before this body takes any action. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Next up, Eric Lewis, Rosa Hantz, Marcia Cummings.
Good evening, I'm Eric Lewis, and I just wanted to come and speak on behalf of the forest and the water, always. I strongly oppose this project, and I hope that you deny their permit. Just wanted to put some things into perspective for you. A 32.5 megawatt system that Georgetown is proposing is going to create at least 3,250,800 square feet of impervious surface. I really want to highlight this because for every inch of rain that we get, that equates to 0.623 gallons of water per inch of rain. So what we would be looking at here is around 2 million gallons of water sheeting off of the surface of these solar panels and rushing into two very critical streams. On the heaviest rainfall day last year, July 24th, that would have been 8 million gallons of water flowing into the stream. Now, I don't know what kind of mitigation they are proposing to, kind of slow down that amount of water and allow it to infiltrate, but even beyond the direct impervious surface that's going to be created of, 3.2 million square feet, we're looking at another 13 million square feet in total. If you count the substation and everything else, you're looking at over 13 million square feet of land that is going to have drastically reduced infiltration, because compacted grass does not allow for water to infiltrate as deeply as 8 to 12 to 18 inches of forest soil that you get from 150 to 150-year-old forest that we have sitting here protected. Now, also to speak to the value for us of that forest, every year for a 50-year-old mixed deciduous forest, you're looking at around 30,000 pounds of carbon dioxide being sequestered from the atmosphere, and you're looking at around 22,000 pounds of oxygen being produced. Now, this forest is a little bit older than that, but we can say that based on those numbers, this forest is responsible for at least 9 million pounds of carbon sequestration per year and 6.6 million pounds of oxygen being produced for us each year. I also want to point out that if in their studies they didn't analyze the carbon content of the soil, 8 inches of soil per square foot has 2.5 pounds of carbon. So you're looking at over 32 million pounds of carbon that will be released into the atmosphere just by disturbing these soils. And then all of those nutrients are going to rush into the stream, lead to eutrophication, anaerobic conditions, and cyanobacteria downstream. So please deny the permit.
Rosa Hantz, Marcia Cummings, and then Michael Smith.
Good evening. My name is Rosa Hance. I live at 45547 Stony Run Drive, Brick Mills, Maryland. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to once again come before you and express our concerns about this project. I was really looking forward to hearing the results of the environmental report that Georgetown was supposed to be doing between the last hearing and this one. And so I feel like my comments are going to be more of the same rather than a response to what would hopefully be some new information that would share with us what exactly is happening behind the scenes to this immense area of forest. In today's political climate, state-based action is the way that I believe we're going to tackle the crisis that is climate change. And so it's really important, and I think it's the reason why most people in the room are here today, to have each project very carefully considered and the state take a look at every aspect of the permitting process as it relates to climate change. Someone said recently that it's like getting a diagnosis for a fatal disease. You might think about all of your problems the day before, but once you get that diagnosis, there's only one problem. And right now our one problem is climate change. And so this forest is immense, and it's been around for a long time. It's the ancestral homelands, as people have mentioned, of the Piscataway people. And the impact on the entire area, including, of course, the Tier 2 streams that are of the highest quality that we have in Maryland, just cannot be overstated. It cannot be boiled down to a mathematical equation that gives us a perfect answer. This transition from combustible to renewable requires leadership at the local, state, and business level, and it requires balance. So in order to truly mitigate climate change, it's necessary to decrease greenhouse gas output, but also preserve and expand forested land. And the impact on stormwater. Water is our life here in Southern Maryland and throughout the state. And I hope that all of those concerns are addressed in the handling of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcia Cummings? You just give us your name. Yes.
My name is Valerie Proctor, B-A-L-A-R-I-E, P-R-O-C-T-O-R.
Thank you.
Marcia Cummings will be submitting her testimony through email at the address provided. My family has been a part of Charles County for generations. I myself moved here over a decade ago. I have watched the change in it overall. It's in its beauty with trees and a variety of animals, and is slowly being overturned with homes, buildings, and empty storefronts. To me, this is just another loss for our county and our people. It's taking away from the beauty which has always existed. This is an opportunity for us to stop this madness from happening before it's too late, and Charles County is no more than just another cement jungle. I understand with the family, what the family is going through that owns the property, because my own family is going through the same thing, but it is unfair to continue to sell out to folks who have no good intentions for our county. If there was any benefit for the rest of our county, I could see it, but all it is doing is taking from us. Why do we continue to allow this to happen to our county? Will we stop it and own our own county? Sincerely, Marcia.